Hello, it's John, small town, small time bookseller, and I'm here because I sold some books. Yay! That's what I try to do. I'll come down here to my little book room, escape the family, look around at all my books, find a book, that one, or maybe that one, and then I'll sell it. At least that's what I try to do. And it's happened sometime this last few weeks, and so I'll come here, I'll make a video about it, and that's all I do. I don't do any garage sale videos, I don't do any yard sale videos, I don't do any GoPros at the Goodwill bins looking at my hands like enormous collections of hair and beards and mustaches of the most diverse colors and styles of living and dead persons of all races, which our master then glues on glass bottles and keeps as a sort of museum of old hairstyles. No. Aren't you glad? You're welcome, because if that's what this was about, I wouldn't be watching it. I wouldn't expect you to watch it. So thank goodness that is not why we are here. We're here just to talk about books that sold, so that you might then sally forth on your own, of your own volition, and sell some of these books as well, should you find them, should you be so lucky. So I've got quite a few. We'll talk totals and numbers at the end. But as usual, I'm going to talk the least lucrative and to the most lucrative, from the least, the lowest dollar amount sale to the highest. And stick around to the end, or skip forward if you're that type. But I have 3 really good sales, 2 of them which are well over $100 each. So you're going to want to see what those are, ain't you? Yes, you are. All right, so we're going to start right off with this one here, Poppy and the Overactive Amygdala, sold for $7.50. I've mentioned before, I really don't like to sell things for under $10, but sometimes I'm a sucker for a good story, and when somebody sent me an offer for $7.50 with a message that said, hey, I'm a teacher in Florida, and I just got a student in my classroom with this condition, I'd really like to learn more about it, and hopefully this book can help. I was a teacher. I'm still in education. My wife's a teacher. My parents are teachers. My grandmother was a teacher. So lots of teachers in the family. My aunt is a teacher. Was a teacher. And so, yeah, I was like, sure, absolutely. Thin little book, bubble mailer, off to Florida it goes. Hopefully it'll help her out. So more than happy to send that along. The next one also is another, took an offer on this one. Cowpokes, Old Jake, sold for $8. And again, small paperback book. Don't really need to do much with it. Stick it in a bubble mailer, and off you go. And then this next one, also an under $10 sale. This one, Acid for the Children, a memoir. This is a Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And it sold for $8.50. I kind of wanted to get a little bit more than that for it, but it had sat for quite a while. And it's a pretty big hardback. So this actually took some wrapping and boxing and all. So I was really, in that case, I'd really try to get more than $10 to make it worth my time and worth the amount of packing materials and all that. So, but like I say, it had sat for quite a while. And so I did take the offer on that one for $8.50. Moving along, here's a good category to look for. These tend to sell quite regularly for me. This is sheet music, and this one, The Doors Anthology, sold for $9. I have, every time I see these, if they're in good condition, I'll pick them up. And you can get them a lot of times at garage sales, cheap, and so I have sold Eric Clapton, Eagles. The one that I was surprised at, Buck Cherry, if you know that band, their sheet music sales really high. That one sold for quite a bit. I can't remember exactly what it was now, but 30 or 40 bucks, something along those lines. And so I have still have some on the shelf, and every time I see these, I'll pick them up, and they often will sell. Moving along, we've got a book in Spanish. This was Las Vidas de los 12 Cesares. And this is interesting because it's there's a misprint on the cover. So on the cover of the book, it said La Vidas, and on the spine, it's Las Vidas. And this was one of those that's independently published through CreateSpace, I think, on Amazon. And so it's it sold for $9. You know, it's not much of a book, so more than happy to sell that one for my under $10. All right, the next one. Now we're moving up into the double digits. Illustrated cabinet making sold for $10. Another good category where I've sold several books on cabinet making, woodworking, along those lines. Those often will sell. Then we go to, I did have an inordinate amount of fiction this cycle. So this is the first one on fiction. And it is Magnolia Parks, The Long Way Home, which sold for $10. I'd never heard of this Magnolia Parks thing, but in my last video, I had another one of theirs that sold. I sold that one, then I saw this, so I picked it up as well, and it sold. So that must be a popular series or something. I really don't know much about it, but it's selling, so I recommend you pick those up if you want to, you know, it's a quick 33 cents into $10. Real quick, for anyone who's new to my videos, I get almost all of my books these days from the Goodwill bins, and the Goodwill bins in Houston sell books for $1 or 50 cents a piece. So if you get 2 of them, it's $1. If you get 3 of them, it's $1. But that's where I get the majority of my books. There are occasionally I will go to a regular old Goodwill and get something for $2 or $3. There's also a Amazon return store where I used to get a lot of my books there, but they used to sell them for like 5 for $1. And now they're 3 for the price of the day. So if you're there on a Saturday, they're $3 a piece. If you get there on Thursday, they're 3 for $1. So just kind of depends on the day. And then the other place I do have a couple other thrift stores in the area that I also try to hit. Not a whole lot of garage sales or estate sales around here where I am, so I don't do a lot with those. But occasionally I will stop at one of those. All right. So the next one, we did the cabinet making, Magnolia Parks. You did that. Oh, here's another fiction book. So this is The Thornbirds. This is from the International Collector's Edition. This sold for Thornbirds, $10. There's 2 of these in this video. Maybe do the next one right after this, actually. For this International Collector's Edition, it's a vintage edition. It's from I think it was mid-late 60s, I believe. And they're nice looking. They're not super high quality like Folio Society or Easton Press or something like that. But I picked these up and they sold pretty quickly. So there's that one. And then the next one also was the Brothers Karamazov, also from International Book Collector's Edition, and it also sold for $10. So I recommend those. They're going to be quick sales, cheaper sales. They're not going to get tons of money, but if you can get them for 33 cents, even $1, you're going to get 10 bucks out of it pretty easily. All right, 6, 7, 8. Let's see, next. Still a $10 book here. We have the Psychic Empath Abilities, sold for $10. Another good genre. Psychic abilities, paranormal, anything related along those lines of altered consciousness, that kind of thing. It's always worth looking up and almost always worth buying. All right, so then where are we going to go next? Okay, here we go. I don't know even what this one is about. The Pragmatic Programmer. I really didn't look into that to see what kind of programming it was talking about. $10 book. Good sale. This was an interesting one that I've had for quite a while. This was the Juice WRLD coloring book. Sold for $12.50. If you're not familiar with Juice WRLD, he was a singer. Died tragically not too long ago, within the last year or two. I'm thinking within the last few years at least. Both my kids really liked Juice WRLD. And so that was interesting to have that. And then this is a coloring book of different pictures of Juice WRLD. Next, where are we going after that? We have this one. Look at this book. The Collection of Speeches of Daniel Webster. I got this at the Goodwill bins. And didn't have a publication date on it, but it did have an inscription on the inside from 1882. So it's prior to 1882. So that puts it at least 140 years old. And I just felt like I had to save it. And it ended up actually selling for $12.50. So, I was pretty happy with that. All right, this next one is a vintage copy of Technical Drawings, a 6th edition, sold for $12.50 as well. And then here's our first of many religious books. I don't know how about many, but religion always sells. So Bibles will sell, especially things like study Bibles. And what's the other one that you have? But the ones where you can take notes and all, but also commentary on religion is always worth checking into as well. So this was the Holy Scriptures according to the Masoretic text, and it sold for $15. The next one, the Tortilla book, $15 as well. And moving along, we have another religious book, Christian Minister's Manual, sold for $15. And then we have another set of vintage fiction. So at the Goodwill bins, if you see a group of books by the same author, even if individually they aren't going to be worth a ton, you lot them up together and they'll often sell. So this was a lot of 3 Grace Livingston Hill books, which I sold for $15. I always charge shipping, by the way, on everything. So everything here is plus shipping. Personally, I talk about lotting books up, even like newer fiction, obviously, something like, for example, Stephen King. If you find a bunch of Stephen King hardbacks, you can get those together, lot them up. I don't usually mess with those. With Stephen King or Dean Koontz or more modern authors, they'll sell, but they take a lot of space, and it's a lot of effort, in my opinion. The more vintage books, I'll do that more than I would with the Stephen King. With Stephen King, I usually look for these earlier books, something like, what would it be? Carrie, Salem's Lot, Firestarter, some of those, the earlier ones, and see if there's any first editions. Can be worth a ton, but more recent books, I'm thinking they're just printing millions of them as a first edition, so they don't really have the value unless it's a special looking edition of some kind. That's just me. A lot of people sell a lot of Stephen King and do very well with that. It's just not one that I want to mess with. John Grisham is another one that, if you can find an early, is it A Time to Kill, that had the first edition of, it was a first printing of like 5,000 copies of that original book. If you can find that one, that's a lot of money. But then after that, when he got famous, then they just print so many that there really isn't any value to a lot of them. But that's just the way I look at it. Moving along, we have this one, another set. This was a set of guidebooks to U.S. coins. This was 5 books from the late 60s on U.S. coins. So somebody collects those, curious about the value of books of coins back then. So those 5 sold for $17 plus shipping. Moving on to another genre that often sells very well is health and diet and cookbooks. Cookbooks, if you go to any thrift store, you're going to see shelves and shelves of cookbooks, and the majority of them I find don't sell very well, but there are certain ones that do. Certain kind of niche diets, if you can find something, they will often, I have a good luck selling those. So this was Dr. Sebi's alkaline and anti-inflammatory diet. So if I find something that's a little bit unusual, something I haven't heard of, an alkaline and anti-inflammatory diet, I'll look that up, because somebody's looking for something that they have to follow that diet. They're going to be looking here. They're not just going to be looking for a Rachel Ray cookbook. It's have to be something specialized. Also, this Dr. Sebi, I have sold multiple books by Dr. Sebi. Never heard of him before in my life until I started selling books, and his books tend to sell. So it's another one. If you see something for Dr. Sebi as a cookbook, it's more likely to have a chance of selling than something else. There are other ones. There are some cookbooks that sell very well. I also find that a lot of them are signed. So if I see an Emerald Lagasse book, I'm always going to look, because a lot of them are signed. I had a Yada de Laurentiis signed cookbook. So a lot of those often are signed. So they're worth looking at. All right, where are we going next? That's number 20. Hold on. Stick with me for just a moment, because I can't find where I put. No. Oh, there it is. Okay. The next one is an Emerald Lagasse. Look at that. Emerald Lagasse. This is not signed. It's just an Emerald Lagasse Power Air Fryer 360 cookbook. Also, cookbooks related to products. You can often find those they will sell pretty quickly as well. And the next one is moving into yet another genre that sells are study guides, study prep, things like that. This was the Elevate Prep 2023 edition for HSPT. I think HSPT is a high school entrance exam, like a private high school entrance exam or something like that. I'm not exactly sure, but that sold for $20. And then my next two were both military aviation books coming from I was at the Goodwill bins a few months back, and they brought out a whole tub, and there were just hundreds of military magazines, military aviation magazines and books. I picked up about, I think, 114 of them, as I recall, and I've made my money back on those many, many times over. So today we had this one, the P-47 Thunderbolt, which sold for $20. And this one, the P-51 Mustang, which also sold for $20. Sometimes if you see multiple copies of the same book, that's a great opportunity if it's a book that sells. This one, which is the Office Rockstar Playbook, not one of them. I bought like 5 of these quite a while back. This one finally is the first one that sold. This was $20, and I finally sold them, but I still have a few more on the shelf that I wish would sell as well. Moving on, we have the CPT 2021 Professional Edition, $21. This is one that I've lowered the price quite a bit because it's 2021. We're getting closer to 2023 now, so I'm thinking, less likely to sell. It's sat on the shelf for probably parts of 2021 and almost all of 2022. So I'm getting this one off the shelf now. Moving on, we have, this is a Health Policy and Politics. It sold for $22. That was pretty good. And let's see, next one would be, this is a good pickup. I got like 6 of these, and I've been selling these really well. I actually got these at the Amazon return store. So I think I probably paid $1, maybe probably not $3, but probably like around $1 to $2 for each of these. And this was the ECG workout. This cycle I sold 2 of them. So I sold one for $22.50, sold another one for $26, and I had them up for $30. I've sold a couple for $30, and I've been taking offers on others as well. Where are we going next? Another lot of fiction books. This is Agatha Christie, the Mystery Collection. This is a set of 9 books. They're the ones that are in the leather. There was a bunch of them at the Goodwill bins, and I was just walking around. I'd see another one, and I'd see another one, and I'd pick them up. They weren't in the best condition. There was, on the bottom leaf edge, on a couple of them, there was a little black splatter. I don't know what it was, but something that kind of marred the bottom leaf edge. So I had them up for $45. I got an offer of $25. I countered it like $40. He came back at $25. I countered it like $30, and he came back at $25. So it was a stack, It was nice to get them off the shelf and free up some space. For 9 books, I would have paid $3. Here's a 3 for $1, and turned that into $25. I was more than happy to do that, especially because of the condition. If they had all been in good condition, I probably would have held out for a little bit more. Here's another group. I picked up several of these, maybe 4 or 5 of these at the Amazon return store as well. The NFPA 99 Healthcare Facilities Code sold out for $25, and I've sold 2 or 3 of those, and I have a couple more on the shelf still, so that was a good pickup. All right, we are moving up in the old price range here. So here's another one that I was glad to see move, because I've had it for quite a while, and I began to wonder if I was ever going to find a buyer that needed this, a Primary Math Olympiad in Chinese. There's like 4 different levels, and I have them all, so I'm hoping that when this buyer likes this one, it may buy the other ones too. But $25 for that is still wrapped in plastic. It looked real nice, but it's in Chinese, so I'm not going to find a whole lot of buyers for that. I have to be pretty specific there. Where are we going now? People still sing karaoke. So this karaoke book is sold, songbook, for $25. I had 2 of them. I had 2 of them sitting over there for like a year. Sold one, I think, in the last video, and then the second one sold this time. So there does seem to be something in that algorithm that if you sell one, it promotes it. It promotes your channel. So if somebody else searches for the same thing, your channel must get promoted, because sometimes I'll have something, you know, sitting around for quite a while, multiple copies, and then all of a sudden they all just get sold really quickly. So I don't know. That just seems to be, from my experience, not only in specific titles, but in genre as well. It seems like I'll sell a whole bunch of religion one time, and then next time like a bunch of this vintage fiction. This time it seemed to be selling for me. So I don't know how it works exactly, but there is something there, I believe. All right, here we go. This was I was at the regular Goodwill when a whole collection came through of spy books about spies, books on the CIA, books, a lot of stuff around the world, everything. So I got several of them. I didn't get everything, but the ones that looked better, better condition and all. And this was one from that group that has sold, called Cry Spy. It's from 1969. And somebody offered me, I think it was $23.23. So I counted it $25.25. And they took it. So it's over $25.25. Another religious book here. This was the St. Catherine's Monastery on Mount Sinai. Sold for $28. Beautiful picture book of the St. Catherine's Monastery. And I went to a church. I remember the address was a church somewhere. So I thought that was kind of cool. All right. So where are we going next? All right. The Patterns of the Hypnotic Techniques of Milton Erickson, $28.50. Kind of going back to the same thing with the empath, psychic abilities, hypnotism, all that kind of stuff sells a lot. So I recommend you always looking up things on that topic. And this one did, for $28.50. All right, we've now moved into the $30 range. Another diet book, gluten-free, dairy-free recipes. $30 for that. So don't, sit there laughing, pointing, and sneezing at the cookbooks. People don't like when we do that anyways. But, go ahead and, if it's a specific diet, I highly recommend it to look it up to see if it could possibly be worth something. All right, where are we going after that? Windberg Technique of Oil Painting book. This one sold for $35. Again, at the Goodwill bins, you'll often see someone's collection gets donated, and they're all together. There's a lot of oil painting books, and these are vintage oil painting books, which I picked up. Have probably 8 or 10 different titles. This is the first one from that group that is sold, and it was the most expensive one. So I was glad that one did. $35 was my asking price on it too. All right, here's one. This is the Degeneration Regeneration, sold for $35. This is a 1977 reprint of a 1949 book. In the last video I sold, one of the higher priced books was a book that had been reprinted many times, and that was the original. And so that's always good. Like if you found the 1949 copy of this, it's probably worth a lot because they reprinted it. And so this was the reprint from 1977, and it still sold for $35. All right. Let's see where we can go. Okay. So now we got the final 3 books. So here's my big sellers for this cycle. First one is the Gas Turbine Engineering Handbook, and that sold for $72. Science and Technology. Great genre to always look into. And then the next one is this. It's called Secrets of the Universe. I mean, I should have read it before I sold it to find out what the secret of the universe is, but I did not. I had this one up for $175, and I sent out an offer of $140. And as soon as I sent it out, I got a full price offer back. And I was like, woohoo. But then immediately after that, I got a message from that buyer saying, hey, I accidentally selected the full price. Could you please cancel that and let me buy it at your offer? So I was like, oh, yeah, that's fair. But I thought, so I canceled it. Then they put in an offer at $140, and I accepted that. So $140 for The Secret of the Universe. Yeah. This was one that did not have an ISBN on it. It was a little bit older. It was part of a series. It did not look that special, to be honest, but the title made me want to look it up. Just having that title, and I was like, yeah. So then the next one is one that I knew would sell, and that is a Black's Law Dictionary. This was the 1968 version, and it sold for $170. I currently have a 1910 second edition up for sale, and I've got that one up for $375 or $400 or something like that. So Black's Law Dictionary, they sell. If you can find them in good condition, even in not good condition, they'll often sell. I don't really know why, but people want these. So that was my big sale of the week. That was $170 for Black's Law Dictionary. Not awesome. All right. I also did pretty good on my Naughtabooks this time. So real quick, let me go through those, just in case you're selling things other than books. I sold quite a few let's go with the CDs first. I sold 3 Mary Foundation CDs. These are available at the Mary Foundation for free, but I don't think all of the titles are there. So I had like a lot of probably 12, 15 of these that I got at the Goodwill bins. So I paid next to nothing for it. And I've been selling them for $9 a piece. So I sold one the last video, and this time I sold 3 to the same buyer. So that's $27 for these 3 Mary Foundation CDs. And then I also sold some DVDs. These were all DVDs from my friend Lax, who moved to Portugal and gave me a bunch of his DVDs to sell. So we had The State, which sold for $10. We had Benson, which sold for $15. I love Benson. And we had Max Headroom, which sold for $25. So Laxman, thank you very much once again. And next we had a camera, which was my aunt's camera, and she was going to just toss it in the trash, and I saved it and sold it for her. So the Olympus FE 8 megapixel FE360 8 megapixel camera, had a little carrying case, had the box, original documentation. My aunt keeps everything, and that sold for $32. So thank you, Aunt Bev. And then the last Naughtabook was this dude, Cause Open Edition, 5 years later. This little dude sold for $60. I had 2 of these, sold one several months back, and it got returned because apparently the head came off, and whoever had it didn't want one with that the head comes off on. So I had the other one. I checked it. The head seemed more secure on this one, so I kept it up for sale, and I did finally sell it for $60. So I was pretty good there. All right. That's it for today. My total average, so that was 42 books that I sold, total of $1,089, which is a $25.94 average. Yay! Over my completely arbitrary and made up number of $25 where I like to be at to consider it a good cycle. So $25.94 average. The Naughtabooks came out to $169, and that comes out to a $28.17 average, which is exactly what I was hoping for. I was like, I always plan out ahead of time. $25 average on books, $28.17 average on Naughtabooks. Hit my goals once again. So very happy about that. Got a lot of new subscribers lately. Thank you guys very much. I am over 900 now. So as I get closer to 1,000, I'll try to figure out something to do. Some kind of, I don't know how to do giveaways or something. I'll have to find something to do as it gets closer to 1,000. But please, if you haven't subscribed, I don't usually ask. And so I'm going to ask this. Yeah, please subscribe if you could. Share this out with anyone you know that might be interested in learning about selling books. And just keep it up. I really appreciate all the support and the comments and everything. So that's it for today, and I hope that you guys are selling the heck out of a bunch of stuff, and keep going, and good luck with everything. And hopefully I will see you sooner rather than later. Adios.